Dynasty Basketball, a lot of the focus is on younger players, and that's what we really dove into in our last video. But in today's video, we're talking about the old dogs, the savvy veterans, players above the age of 30 years old who still got it, who are the top 20 best for Dynasty Basketball. This is the Angle Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew. I'm joined by Mitchell today, who's actually about to go on a pretty big vacation. Would you care to share with the class where you're going?
Yeah, going to the motherland, going to the Philippines for a week. Super excited and just really pumped up to see some family, take it's always a special experience visiting a different country, let alone like where your people are from. Just very excited to, eat Filipino food, just kind of dive into the culture and maybe play some pickup basketball with the locals. So, yeah, thank you for asking, Andrew.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to the Philippines. A great basketball fan base. And I know the YouTube metrics. We got some Filipino followers as well. So shout out to you. And leave a comment below. Where should Mitch go to eat? Let him know the places to go to. So Mitch, you got first pick in the last mock draft that we did. I will link that video at the end of this one for players under the age of 23, who are the best young players. Today we're focusing on the older ones, and maybe soon we'll focus on those in their athletic prime. But you got first pick in the last video. You got first pick in this one as well. I know it's only 50-50 odds, but you got a pretty easy first pick. But like we talked about off camera, it gets a little difficult for you once it gets through my turn because it is a snake draft here. So we're going to go ahead and hop into the Fantrax draft room and get started right now.
All right, I'll go ahead and kick us off here. And this one's going to be a pretty easy one, given the structure of not only our dynasty rankings, but, rankings from other dynasty analysts where we do have a top four. And right after Victor, there's always that set other three that follow up, whether it's Nikola Jokic, Luka, and Shea. But in this particular exercise, Luka and Shea are not eligible to be drafted. We are focusing in on those who are 30 years and older. Some guys that, yes, they're still in the back end of their primes, but they are still very valuable players and shouldn't be undersold in terms of what they can provide for your dynasty teams. And with that being said, this guy needs no further introduction. He's the best big man of this generation, and that's Nikola Jokic.
Very good. The multi-time MVP, amazing, amazing asset for fantasy and dynasty. Always top three. Easy, easy bet for top three. He's averaging 29, 12, and 10 right now over a steal a game. What a freaking animal. Okay, so I think there's a pretty clear-cut next tier for this group of 30 plus, our savvy veterans that we're going through today. This is somebody that I'm one of the higher ones on in Dynasty realm of like, I usually include him in my top 10. Yes, I know for nine category, you sometimes, not always, have to have a punt build for him. But I value Giannis as a top 10 player. He's not doing it this year, but this is the only guy that has previously averaged 30, 10, and 5 plus in those categories in his career because Jokic has not reached that 30-point threshold yet. So yeah, last year, 30, 11, and 6, 30, 11, and 6 the year prior, 31, 11, and 5 the year prior to that. So pretty hard to find numbers like that. Just some amazing counting stats, and he adds in those stocks as well. Always good for at least a steal and a block per game. Yes, I know he does not contribute in the three-point department. The field goal percentage can hurt you depending on the way that your team is built. But 60% from field goal from the field, a huge, huge boost to your field goal percentage on whatever type of team you're trying to run. So Giannis is definitely a very solid player to have, one that you can win with if you build around him the right way. Now, next person, somebody who I'm also very high on for Dynasty, and this one, at least both of these two guys, Giannis is, I believe, is 31. This next guy's straight up 30 years old. I know Jokic is 30 years old as well, too. So these guys aren't on the higher end threshold that some of these other guys we might be talking about today are. So they're still kind of at the beginning of this window. I consider, 30 still to be within athletic prime. It's usually like 26 to 31 or so for NBA players. So they're there. The decline hasn't quite started yet. I mean, someone like Jokic and Towns don't rely a ton on athleticism anyways. So I expect their decline to be quite gradual, honestly, especially Jokic. But Towns, very, very friendly nine category game. Doing pretty great this year. We were a little worried when Tibbs left, but 22, 11, and 3, about a steal and a block per game, 1.9 threes per game. Excellent from the free throw line and pretty decent from the field at 47%. So solid player to have. Not going to really hurt you anywhere. Probably one of the easier ones to build around for 9 category.
Yeah, I really enjoy what Carl Anthony Towns provides, and the longevity is very secure in my opinion because his ability to stretch the floor in an efficient manner. This next guy who hasn't aged as gracefully, at least this year, is Anthony Davis. But I think just because of what he provides defensively, still a stalwart on defense. Let's pull up his stats really quick. 18, 10, 3 with 1.3 steals and 1.6 blocks. The decline is still there, but he's still very valuable and he's not really a one-trick pony. So I'm still going to take Anthony Davis. I know that the Mavs are going to try to ship him to a contender. Uh, Ideally, someplace like Toronto would look really great for his value, where he can kind of rebuild his fantasy production, where the Mavs have been a little bit more on the patient side, trying to balance that, building around Cooper Flag, also trying to compete. But it's really hard when your best player or second best player, however you see it, in Kyrie Irving, is put on the shelf until he recovers from his season-ending injury. So I think if Davis gets moved into a more competitive environment, we should see that production uptick. But right now, it's generally a down year, pretty steep decline compared to previous years. But maybe I think it's kind of more based on the environment he's in right now.
I will add to that, Mitch, that the minutes are down in Dallas about 5 minutes per game last year and this year. They're carefully trying to manage injuries for him right now, I think because they want to trade him. So keep that in mind. If he does go to a contender, or not even a contender, but someone with just more of a wide open center position who's going for at least maybe like the play in. What, like Toronto's kind of a contender right now, but what if he goes to Chicago? Something along those lines could be used, could be a good situation for him too, especially if they get rid of Vooch and bring in AD, or they might even be able to coexist together too, potentially. So in a new situation, things can definitely change. He's also 32, so some of these other players are definitely going to have a few years on him, as you will see when we get through this draft.
100%, Andrew. And yeah, Anthony Davis should recuperate his value. I'm pretty confident in that he's still on the younger side of 30, all things considered. The next one is really on the tail end, but one of my favorite players, I have one of his iconic shots in my background from the
Boom.
2017 playoffs and the championship series against Cleveland. I'm going to go ahead and take Stephen Curry. He's having a career year at the age of, I believe, he's 38. He's going to turn 39 in March. Crazy to think that way just because we've always known him as the babyface assassin. But when you look at the numbers, he's improving every single year. He's put on weight, he's put on strength, and he's finishing at a very high rate around the rim, but also making 4.9 threes per game at age 38 is absolutely insane. The assists are down, with the added playmaking of Jimmy Butler swapping from, Andrew Wiggins, but the scoring is up. Jimmy Butler's opening the floor for him. The efficiency is up. He's getting better looks with another co-star. And yeah, you really can't complain with 28 with 5 threes a game, almost 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1.3 steals. So yeah, Stephen Curry is my pick at the turnaround. And with that being said, I know you're probably going to go James Harden. We both love
Ooh,
Harden, and I knew it was
spoilers.
coming. Yeah, I mean, no spoiler ahead. Andrew, just go ahead and take him, man.
I have to, man. I have the beard is still even in the top 50. Oop, I added him to my queue. I didn't actually draft him. Here we go now. The beard is still actually in our top 50 of our dynasty ranks. I personally own him in the Angle Dynasty League. That's one we publicize. If you're new to our YouTube channel, you can see a full playlist covering the dynasty that all three of us are in, plus a lot of our close followers. Very, very fun league. Continually just remains in the top 10, non-category wise, year after year. I'm sure he's a great points league player as well. A stalwart from the free throw line, always going to be attempting high volume, always going to be near 90%. And then just the scoring and assist upside nightly. He is just still getting after it. Still getting after it at the age of 36. He will turn 37 this offseason. And this is just, the Clippers' main guy right now. Kawhi Leonard is unreliable, especially in the regular season. James Harden is one of the more reliable guys. And I'm sure you could probably agree with this, bitch. Like these last three guys drafted, the Davis, Curry, Harden, maybe one or two of these other guys we're going to talk about who are on the older side. A lot of times, at least in the dynasty landscape, it's like you can try to trade these guys, but a lot of people are probably going to try to give you a lower return value and use age as the main factor of why. And for a lot of these guys, it's best to literally just ride out the end of their career because their value for you is greater just producing numbers for your team as opposed to what they would get for you in a trade package return. I got James Harden in a Kyle Kuzma based trade package. So even at that time, that tells you where, sometimes dynasty trades will happen where some pretty favorable deals can happen in terms of production with the sacrifice of age. So usually with these guys, that's what I personally plan to do with Harden in our own league is just continue to just ride it out until he's ready to retire, especially because it's a salary league. So that salary should stay nice and low since he's a little bit on the older side. It'll help me be able to afford Shea's massive extension that's coming up here soon.
Yeah, I mean, props to James Harden for taking a team-friendly deal. He's making a real sacrifice for the Clippers. Yes, they aren't doing very great right now, but it kind of gives to show like he's trying to, you know, be a meaningful impact player for winning, and doing whatever it takes to build out that roster. On paper, that Clippers team was pretty exciting, but we kind of are seeing how things have turned out in terms of like the age is all kind of catching up around like their peripheral pieces, like a Bradley Beal, Derek Jones, Bogdanovich. But Harden, yes, 100% is doing his thing. He's still a top 10, top 12, first round redraft type player. He'll always have a place in my heart as my number one pick from last season, where I did take that title in the redraft league. So, where are you going with your next pick here, Andrew?
The next one's actually tough because I did draft one of these older guys we're going to talk about today in Harden, and I don't plan to do that a second time with another player who I'm sure will be drafted soon. The two guys I am looking at here are closer to age 30 than they are to 40, like Harden is. And it is kind of hard between these two guys. But I think my mind has been made up for a bit here. And it might be a little bit of a surprise, but I'm going to take Kyrie Irving, who, yes, is injured right now. But we have to remember, Irving is only 33. So he's going to turn 34 this year. So he's got a few more years on him than a Curry, a Harden, some of these other guys that we're going to talk about soon too. So Kyrie's still hanging around there, and it's just when he is healthy and playing, the nine category production is so good. 24, 4, and 4 a steal per game last year. 91% from the free throw line on decent volume. 40% from three last year. 47% from the field. So I know that there is some durability issues with Kyrie, but the production is just so good when he plays. And of the guys in this range, he's got a few more left or a few more years left on his side. The other guy that I was looking into actually is a little bit younger than Kyrie. You might take him on this next turn, but has a couple of areas that he struggles with in nine category, and Kyrie's game is just a lot more cleaner. The next guy is the other guy I'm thinking of is probably a lot better for points leagues, but let's see if you take him here, unless you want to add any words in on our boy Kyrie first.
Yeah, I think with the development of the sports science and medicine, Kyrie should recover, if anything, like similarly to how KD, tore his Achilles, tore his ACL. So Kyrie Irving is going to be a great player coming back, and the Mavs do view him as a pretty solid piece, whether it's to build around him with Cooper Flag, given that he is more on the younger side of 30, but also as a good trade piece to a contender. So either way, Kyrie Irving is going to build back up his value later in the season, and he should rise upon the ranks in terms of our dynasty ranks near the end, maybe in post-trade deadline. All right, so next pick, man, I this one's hard because I know if I don't take him here, you're easily going to take him. I'll just go ahead and do it. I'll go ahead and take Kevin Durant. He's seen a dip in production. Um, given he's going to the Houston Rockets, they're a lot more competitive than the Phoenix Suns last year. But what's encouraging is that he retained his efficiency, shooting 50% from the field, 42% from three, and 89% from the free throw line. The rebounds have dipped to less than five, but they're still pretty solid, I guess. Four assists is still what you want, you know, out of position assist for a power forward is great, and one steal and one block. So while he hasn't maintained that first round production like a Stephen Curry and a James Harden, those two in that same kind of territory among the top 50 uh, in our dynasty rankings. He's a little bit behind those two, but he's still very valuable because he gives you guard forward eligibility. He doesn't hurt you in any categories. The counting stats are a little bit down, but they're still very elite in that second round territory. So while the Rockets are going to stay competitive, it incentivizes him to play these games and hopefully have a pretty long and healthy career, at least for this season. So, going to take Kevin Durant here. My next one, I know you're probably looking at Randall, who rebuilt his value. We're seeing those, New York Knicks type numbers where the points are up, the assists are up. I'm actually thinking a little bit different here, to be honest. I'm gonna go ahead and let me type him up really quick. I'm gonna go and take Derek White just because
Ooh,
he is a unicorn.
spicy.
I feel like people have forgotten about him a bit because yes, the Celtics are actually in the playoff race. Like they're not even a play-in team right now.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. I mean, like they got rid of basically Kristaps Porzingis in a salary dump. They got rid of Drew Holiday for Simons, who's playing off the bench and is really essentially a non-factor now. And they don't have Jason Tatum. And his efficiency has dipped because he's more of a focal point in the offense, but you're not getting another point guard that provides you with 1.2 blocks. He is that similar in terms of like a unicorn in his own right, like a John Wall and a Dwayne Wade, where you
Ooh,
get
I
that
like those
shooting guard
comps. I
that
like
can
that John Wall comp.
yeah, that was like such a lucrative part of like John Wall's value, right? It's
In
the
man
big
cat,
mans
definitely.
with the assists, but for guards who get blocks over one block a game, you're not going to find that. I wouldn't be too worried about the field goal once Tatum comes back. He's going to get some more open looks, and I think the points are going to bounce back up to like 19, 20. He's going to always get you those assists too. So Derek White is a solid shout out of mine, and yeah, pretty happy and content with that pick right there.
I like that one. I like that one. I think there's not a lot of wrong answers in this range right here of this like fourth and fifth round that we're in. But happily for me, you left the guy that I was heavily considering in the last round where I took Kyrie instead. So now I get to take Pascal Siakam here. So the
Mm.
reason why I was very interested in Pascal is he's 31, so he's a little bit younger than Kyrie, and then just always a solid points producer, 23 points per game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.3 steals. Very, very solid stat line in regards to volume-based approach here. It does have a bit of a weakness at the free throw line at 70%. Again, it is possible to still be good at free throws while having somebody like this on your team. It's possible to achieve it with Giannis. It's possible to achieve it with Siakam if you do it the right way. But despite not being great at free throws, he is pretty solid at threes, 35%. Well, percentage-wise is average, 1.7 is pretty average too. But the fact that you're getting that out of a forward center eligible player is nice. So some out of position threes, 47% from the field, not bad either. So mostly what you like Siakam for is the volume, points, rebound, assists, and some defense. And just that points factor, 23 points per game, as close to 25 as we can get is always good. And of course, that points production is up a little bit since Halliburton is not playing for Indiana this year. I know there is some rest risk for Siakam at the end of this year, but that's more relevant for redraft leagues as opposed to dynasty, which is, permanent based rosters. So we might not get a ton more games out of him, beyond February, but still a solid player to have, closer to age 30. And yeah, Pascal Siakam. Okay, next one. Now I will go with the one that you suspected me uh, to be interested in, and I will now take Julius Randle here, who, yes, did fix his game from a nine category perspective with that free throw percentage. Majority of everything else here was always there. It was just pretty crappy percentages, like in his New York days, like right down here, 45% from the field, 75% from the free throw line in New York, with pretty high volume attempts and pretty high turnovers for a forward-based player as well. But if you're going to give us 23, 7, and 5 with a steal per game and keep it at 49% from the field and 82% from the line, that's the reason why Randall is producing top 20 value right now. He is also age 31, so pretty much same age as Siakam. He actually just turned 31 at the end of last month. So still, on the younger side of the draft that we're doing today. And yeah, just one of the real focal points for Minnesota right now. So things are going really well for those Randall owners, especially those of you who got him in redraft in like the sixth or seventh round, something around there. And then there's, I'm sure, some dynasty managers who got him for a little bit cheaper, maybe a year or two ago, and now he's just producing first, second round value at the moment.
All right, so this is where it kind of gets tough, in my
Yes.
opinion,
Yes.
because like even though there's some guys still that are on the younger side of 30, like a Zach LaVine or you know, you're seeing like a pretty steep decline, I guess you can say,
A production
compared to
decline for sure.
yeah,
And
and it's
value.
like
Yeah.
in value too. Like these guys can probably uh I mean if they move in a certain situation, right? Like if what if Zach LaVine goes to a contender? We're not going to see that same role like
Right.
he's,
So, like, would you say
been featured in
the
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 Kings.
value of what's on the board right now that's been drafted by us? So the players that you can see on the screen that we've selected so far, these are kind of like the last 30 plus year olds that are capable of producing top 25 numbers. Would you probably agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that because like now you either get into guys that we're starting to see a deep decline in production, or do you really want to roll the dice with injury-prone players like a Kawhi Leonard, a Joel Embiid, or a Jimmy Butler? It's a it's really up to preference, and I guess it's our duty to kind of provide a expert opinion on, this stance because, this is a very touchy subject in terms of, do we want to hold 30-year-olds in a dynasty league? And this is kind of the point in the draft where you either sell for what you can get, maybe a late lottery pick for a Joel Embiid and re-roll the dice, or do you kind of accept the injury risk or the decline in like some of the younger 30-year-olds like a Levine, right? But yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at now. I feel like if Porzingis wasn't re or diagnosed with the POTS, like he'd be a smash for me
He'd
at
be the
least
he'd be the
because
best of the rest. Yeah, definitely.
right. Like he'll give you that top 20 value without any physical nagging injury concerns like a Joel Embiid with his knees, right? He'll have like those annoying ones, but nothing long term. But because of that like nervous system infection or disease, it kind of puts me away with him. So I'm gonna say like my next pick here with Josh Hart is like the last
Okay.
semi-safe type player
Okay.
because he's now, thrusted into that starting lineup again, where there was a level of concern where he wasn't going to play those same minutes with Thibodeau, but now we're seeing that, kind of reintegrate. So also on the younger side of 30 as well, we're seeing those rebounds increase, those minutes reach that like mid to late 30s that we really, really enjoyed last year. And for this season, he's actually ranked 50th in standard nine category leagues, according to Basketball Monster. So he's really bumped up his value. He's a pretty durable player over the last couple years, and I'm pretty happy with this pick. But then after, Josh Hart, I think it gets really interesting here. And I'm just gonna go out swinging and take Joel Embiid here.
Oh, okay.
This is a very controversial one, but I mean, if you look at his game log ever since he kind of came back in December, he's picked it up quite a bit. Uh, he had a 39-point outing, went to the line 18 times. The next game, 22 points, 14 rebounds. The blocks are getting a little bit back up there at 1.3. So he is that like top 20, I guess, value on the tail end. Uh, we're never going to see prime Joel Embiid again, unfortunately. But that top 30 player is still there, even though we're not going to see that top five production anymore. And he's always going to be injury prone. So if you're lucky, you're getting 50 games out of him a season. But if he's healthy at the right time, boy, you can still make some damage in the playoffs.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see here. So for my next pick, I'm gonna get somebody who is a good amount above 30, but I consider like he's just been chugging along recently. Like there's nothing, there hasn't been anything like incredibly standout happening from Rudy Gobert right now, but there also hasn't been anything terrible happening from him either. He still continues to average a double-double. He's at 11, 10, and 2. Blocks are still there. It's not, in the dominance of like his defensive player of the year days, but 1.5 blocks per game is solid. 74% from the field this year. So some awesome, awesome efficiency on that side. And then the free throw attempts are at least a little lower. So yes, he's shooting 50% from the line, but if he's only going to get to the line, once or twice a game, it's not going to be too harmful to you. So for nine category, that 10 rebounds per game is obviously very solid. Somebody who's getting a double double for you out of the center position, just somebody who you can rely on out of the center position for you. I am a Gobert owner for one of my dynasty teams. I'm very happy with him. I don't think there's many Gobert owners out there that are complaining about anything necessarily wrong with him. He doesn't miss a ton of games. Look at that, 3 seasons in a row of playing 70 games or more. And then 30 minutes a night, you can always expect that from him. You can always expect the blocks and rebounds to be there. So he's just chugging along, man. Rudy Gobert's been solid. Nothing really going wrong there. Now for my next pick. The risk with Kristaps is there, like you mentioned. I don't need to go too much further into that. A couple other guys that I was looking at here. Um, man, this is kind of tough here.
That's why we can't go 30 deep like
I
last
know.
pod.
I'm glad we cut it off at 20. Like it's easy to go we could have gone 50 deep with like the 23 and under. Like we did 30 deep for that one. But for this one, going 30 deep gets us closer to like our Duncan Robinsons and guys like that, which I don't really think too many of you viewers will find that all that interesting anyways. I will take Zach LaVine here. For two reasons. Number
Okay.
one is because just turned 30 last year. So on the younger end of the spectrum of what we were talking about today, still at 20 points per game. It's the peripheral stats that aren't really there right now. Really, you're just getting threes, free throws, and scoring out of him right now, which is a bit disappointing. The other reason why I'm comfortable taking Levine here is I think it's going to be mainly this year that you have rest risk. There's going to be a lot of injuries because Sacramento does own their pick now because they gave it to Atlanta last year from the Herder trade. So now they have their own unprotected first back in their own possession. So they can tank, and it seems like that's what's happening. Getting lot of Maxime Reynaud minutes. Shout out to him. So it's going to be Russ and the kids probably at the end of the year for Sacramento. So it's not the best year to own Zach LaVine, but definitely don't sell super low on him because it's not like he's 35. He is 30. He is still a reliable, at least 20 point per game scorer. So that's why I'm going to take him there.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get some of the younger guys still at 30 in this exercise, just go ahead and take them because they're gonna dry out really quick. All right. This one, my next pick, I'm kind of surprised that none of us took him so far, but I'm gonna go ahead and take Norman Powell.
I
Some
thought
guy
about that
who's
one. Yeah.
Yeah, because like he's very interesting because he's someone who really entered his prime in his 30s, which is very uncommon in the NBA in general. But for this season, he's ranked 31st in nine category. He's having
Wow.
a career year. Last year we thought, oh, okay, like he should be an all-star for the Clippers. The Clippers are a top four seed. He's averaging career numbers at like 22 points per game. But with the Miami Heat, he's averaging almost 25 a game. Like they're really leaning onto him, even when adding Tyler Hero back into the lineup. It's more like Bam Adebayo who's kind of taken a back seat for the offensive engine. And Norman Powell is really that number two guy next to Hero in terms of the offensive burden, and he's going to provide you with efficient scoring, splits at 49% from the field. 43% from three, 85% from the free throw line, and also give you some pretty decent counting stats, similar to like Stephen Curry with like 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and like 1.2 steals per game. So with Norman Powell, I mean, hitting his prime in his 30s, you can kind of assume that he's gonna keep this up for at least 2 to 3 more years for like the 20 to 25 point per game range. And if he can, you know, give you that solid 3 3 pointers a game on some pretty decent counting stats, you're gonna go ahead and take him. He's one player in your 30s that I'm not really rushing to sell for like a prospect because I feel pretty secure with him, and he's a player that not a lot of people know about, for Norman Powell. All right. Did you want to add anything on Norman Powell? I know you're a big fan of him too,
I
before I
love
move
Norm.
on.
Yeah, I've definitely thought about that for my last pick too. I think kind of it came down to age, but if you're watching this and you'd prefer Norm to Zach LaVine, that is totally fine. Or if you prefer Norm to Gobert or Embiid, that's also totally fine because he's been awesome this year, man. And I think if he didn't make All Stars last year, he's definitely going to make it this year, especially being that he's in the Eastern Conference. So,
Yeah, the East is very weak. Okay, so my next turnaround pick, man, like this one's kind of hard because I I feel like if Porzingis ever, I know POTS is like a very serious illness, but if he ever recovers, you're going to be able to sell him higher than anybody left on the board.
yeah.
And for that reason, because he's on the younger side of 30, I think he's 31 let me check really quick. Yeah, he's exactly 30. He's someone who can probably net you a mid-lottery pick if he can get a solid stretch of games healthy, especially near the trade deadline. It could be a long shot. He's getting medical attention. He's taking 2 weeks to kind of rest and have everything reassessed. But I think at this range, past like, you know, in most dynasty ranks, like 100 to 150, he's someone that you got to take at this point in, like, let's say this is the startup draft, like a real one, and hope that he recoups his value and then you sell high, right? He's always going to be a per minute per game monster. That's just who he is. I mean, this season already, he's averaging 19, six rebounds, 3 assists, 1.6 blocks on 2 threes a game on really solid efficiency, 50% from the field, 36% from three, and 85% from the free throw line. So he's kind of like in that like KD mold where he doesn't hurt you anywhere, and he provides a unique stat set given that he is a center. So yeah, Kristaps Porzingis here just rolling the dice, given the options left on the board.
All right. I'll do some clever cap maneuvers. I guess I'll take Kawhi here. It's a headache. I know. There's a ton of risk. I know. But he is really good when he plays. 34 years old as well, so he's got a few more years on him than our Kevin Durant's and Steph Curry's and James Harden's do. But he's still a player not of their caliber, a tier or two below them, but still very solid from a nine category perspective for sure. 24, 5 and 3, 1.9 steals per game. I mean, the guy's still got it in regards to swipes. He's always had that in his bag, and he's always had really, really solid free throw production as part of his game too. Like he's always ultra efficient, good on defense with good scoring and decent volume stats. That's Kawhi Leonard's nine category game right there. That's how he always has been. It's just all about the availability. That's why he's towards the bottom of this list. If he was more available, then he would have been, drafted up like where Harden and Steph were potentially even before them because he's younger than them. But due to that availability concern, that's why he's towards the bottom here. He's one of my second to last picks out of the, top, I guess, essentially top 20 players in our opinion of age 30 and older at this time. So I'll take the risk with Leonard here since we are at the end of the draft. And maybe, maybe I got to do a ballsy move too since you just took Porzingis and you took Embiid earlier. I've been a little safe recently, so I'm going to go with Kawhi there. Now for
Do
my
you
last
take the
pick.
king here?
I can't. I can't do it. I'm actually going to go for somebody you might have thought of. I'm going to take Andrew Wiggins with my last pick.
Ooh,
Wiggins is on the
okay.
younger side of today's theme. 30 years old. He's going to turn 31 in February. 16, 4 and 2. What you like about Wiggins is the triple one. 1 3, one steal, one block per game. He's usually pretty good for that. Decent from the field, never great from the free throw line, but he's always hovering around that like 90 to 120 range in nine category, kind of depending on what type of a stretch he's on. So doesn't do anything special, but just solid player to have, and he's got a few more years left than some of the other guys that we've discussed today, and looks good in Miami right now. I like that as a spot for him.
Yep. Heat culture is gonna, light a fire under your ass. And, Andrew Wiggins does look great. All right, this next one kind of went under the radar here, and I'm not gonna go ahead and take those older guys on the back end of 30, like LeBron, like Jimmy Butler, DeMar DeRozan, Vooch. I'm taking a guy who's also similar to Norm Powell, is having a career year in his 30s. I'm taking Aaron Gordon here.
I love it.
And
I love
with
it. I was really hoping he would get drafted. I
yes,
love
he
it.
definitely deserves an honorable mention. And he's having a career year. And with the exit of Michael Porter Jr., he's really upped his scoring. 19 points per game, five up from last year. He's taken that responsibility to a T. His field goal percentage is way up from his career averages. I mean, he's been pretty solid ever since he's been in Denver, but even with the increased scoring load, that 53, 55% field goal percentage has maintained. And with that being said, his three-point shooting is up to 2.2 threes a game, right? That's insane, given the fact that he's usually a 1 or 1.3 type of three-point shooter. And he's also getting pretty solid rebounds at six as well. So with Aaron Gordon and the departure of MPJ, I think really expanded his role. Cam Johnson is not someone who can really self-create like an Aaron Gordon or a Michael Porter Jr. So I feel pretty safe with the prospects of AG's career moving forward. And, for someone who just turned 30, we're really seeing the tail end of his prime, and hopefully that lasts over the next 3 to 5 years.
Absolutely. All right. So for you audio listeners out there, here's what our both of our teams ended up with. This is what 20 players over the age of 30 from a dynasty basketball perspective. Mitchell's team in the order he drafted them: Nikola Jokic, Anthony Davis, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Derek White, Josh Hart, Joel Embiid, Norman Powell, Kristaps Porzingis, Aaron Gordon. My team in the order I drafted them: Giannis Antetokounmpo, Karl Anthony Towns, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Pascal Siakam, Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, Zach LaVine, Kawhi Leonard, and Andrew Wiggins. Let's discuss a couple of a couple of honorable mentions here. A couple of guys who didn't make the list. Jakob Kjötel. Thoughts on that one?
Pretty steep decline. I mean,
Yeah.
it's no
Like he
secret
would have been
that,
on this last year, right? Like
yeah,
like
he
during the middle of
definitely
last
would
year.
have. Like he
Yes.
was putting like Ivica Zubac numbers,
Right.
right? A guy who's consistently in the top 75. But it's no secret right now that the Toronto Raptors are looking for an upgrade at the center
Hmm.
position. They've been very vocal of their interest in Anthony Davis. They look really great to start the year with Brandon Ingram taking another leap with that 3-point attempts per game. Scotty Barnes looks like that defensive monster that we've, been so high on after his first couple years in the league. He's kind of bounced back and, got that edge again. IQ is back healthy. So, these Raptors are really looking for a playoff push in a wide open Eastern Conference. So with Pirtle, I'm like, I'm a little bit more of a sell on him if you can still kind of get that value back. Another honorable mention is our boy Drew Holiday. This
Yep. Got
guy
to talk about Drew.
was a top, like, a fourth round, third round guy in redraft leagues before he went to Boston. This guy is putting up amazing numbers ever since he got back to Portland. Health hasn't been on his side, unfortunately, this year, but his assists are way up, like coming from like 3 a game back up to like 7 is pretty amazing. His steals are back up, those stocks are up that kind of dipped when they were in Boston. So another good one. To mention with Drew Holiday, who's looking like a huge riser in our upcoming update. Please check it out on Patreon. And also, what about LeBron? I know, we're both in LA. What have you noticed, Andrew, about LeBron in terms of like that kind of like a dip and taking a back seat to
Yeah.
Austin Reeves as that number 2 guy?
Yeah, you said it right there. It's almost been Reeves and LeBron trading their roles from last year to this year is essentially what has been going on. Reeves has been putting up superstar numbers where LeBron, and rightfully so, is taking more of a backseat, letting the younger guys carry the load and being, well, now one of the best role players, one of the best supporting players in the league. So it's been solid that he's kind of accepted that with grace. He's not really put up a huge fight about his role being diminished at all. And, he knows where he's at right now, age-wise and everything. And he knows that the Lakers are doing really well with the team flowing more through Luka and Reeves right now, as well as Aiton getting a decent amount of usage for us right now too. So things are going too well in LA for anything to change. And LeBron, if you got him, just what has he got? 1, 2, 3 years left. We never really know for sure. So just continue to ride it out. You'll get those solid rebounds and assists always. And he's still probably good for maybe, a handful of like 25 to 30 point games until the end of the season. He might do it at least 2 or 3 times. He's still LeBron James. One other name I'll mention here, Mitch, before we close out today. Well, actually, maybe two. Nikola Vucevic is one. Another one is Fred VanVleet. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what? Give me a quick thought on Fred, because I know you're always very up. Well, both of us obviously pay close attention to the Rockets. They're kind of a dynasty gold mine, but it's the career outlook for Fred VanVleet bleak enough to where he shouldn't be near this kind of list that we drafted today, or is he still within the periphery of like the later round guys that we picked up, like close to that range of Kawhi, Gordon, Wiggins, something like that,
I mean, last year, definitely, right?
right?
But this year, it's hard to say because Reed Shepherd has made a real leap. He's having those playmaking reps. Şengün is looking like a great secondary or even primary playmaker. And Amen Thompson is developing those ball handling roles, all alluding to the success of the Houston Rockets this season. So, as someone who is coming off a major injury and shorter than 6 feet tall, he's not Kyrie Irving, who's like a 6'4" guard. He's more on the, minuscule size in terms of kind of NBA frame and who also relies on his defense. When you don't have that lateral burst, right? Recovering from a major injury and being under 6 feet tall, it's kind of like hard for me to envision his fantasy impact to kind of bounce back like a Kyrie Irving. I mean, are you
Hmm.
kind of on the similar wavelength with Fred? Because, the Rockets look so good recently with their young guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a possibility that Fred gets like if they make a trade this year using Fred as salary filler to bring in somebody else for the point guard position to help for the playoff push, and then now Fred finds himself on a team next year with a big need at point guard, things could work out really well for him. So
Well,
it's all
the
about how
thing
the
is though
bounce
with
back's going to
Fred,
go.
he has a no trade clause though. Like he can
Okay.
say no. Like I feel like at this stage of his career, he's only going to want to be on a contender. And if
Uh-huh.
that's the case, like he's probably going to be that fifth option. He's not going to be that second or third option like he was pre-injury for like the Houston Rockets, you know.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. He could block that because yeah, whatever trade he gets traded or whatever team he gets traded to is probably not going to be in as good of a position as Houston is right now. Last guy we'll talk about, Vucevic. Everyone keeps saying that decline is coming. It's coming. Get rid of him now, but it hasn't come quite yet. When do you expect there to be an actual drop off in Vucevic, who just continues to remain in like top, at least like top 60 territory year after year?
I mean, it's tough, right? Because the Bulls aren't a team known to make trades. Like it kind of just seems like Vooch has been on the trade rumors over the last 3 or so years, but nothing ever happens, right? I mean, with Vooch, he's always gonna give you clean percentages, solid rebounds, out of position assists. I mean, what more can you ask for with
Hmm.
Vucevic? Jalen Smith has looked pretty good, so has Zach Collins, but they're never going to be those long-term starters, right? So the Bulls have no other options, and they're not a team willing to trade, knowing their trade history. So similar to some of the other guys you picked, like a Kawhi Leonard and stuff like that, you just kind of have to, you know, what's that term, like ride him into the sunset until he
Yeah, or just ride
retires.
ride out the rest of the career. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. He's that good of a player, doesn't hurt you anywhere. So yeah, ride him out till he retires, basically is my standpoint on Vooch.
Fair enough. I mean, we're seeing a little bit of a dip in free throw and points this year, so perhaps the decline is around the corner. But yeah, it all just depends on what Chicago is going to do moving forward. So that'll do it for us today. Other quick mentions: DeMar DeRozan, C.J. McCollum, Jeremy Grant, Kelly Oubre, Alex Caruso, Luke Cornett, Russell Westbrook, Duncan Robinson, T.J. McConnell, Bobby Portis, Kyle Kuzma, other guys who could have made this list today, but we were only drafting 20 players. So those are our opinion of the 20 best players over the age of 30 in Dynasty basketball. Mitchell, I wish you very safe travels heading out to the Philippines. We're going to play some golf when you get back. Isn't that right?
Definitely. Alondra, your home course, let's make a
There
fun
we go.
competition out of it.
All right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Okay, so please give us a follow if you have not already. We are on the road to 500 subscribers. We do have a Dynasty Rank update coming out soon. Check out the details of that below. It'll be on our website, which will be linked below. And then you can also check out our video we've already made on the best 30 players under the age of 23 for Dynasty basketball. Coming soon, potentially the best players for Dynasty in their athletic prime right now. We'll see about that in maybe a couple of weeks or so. Thank you again for watching, everybody. Have a very Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next time.